Monster Hunter is my jam! I have been in a deep affectionate, it's complicated relationship with the series since its debut in the West. I started off getting frustrated by the challenge, put it down, and picked up some baby games to replace it to feel good about myself. Again. It wasn't until my buddy nagged me for months to pick up 3 Ultimate on the 3DS that I found out what I had been missing all these years and quickly changed my tune to pure delight and intense frustration. Shout out to the Monster Hunter subreddit for hunting with me non-stop back in like 2015. Those were honestly some of my favorite earliest internet moments. You see, Monster Hunter is one of the few good kind of hards I have going on in my life, where it conveys a challenge that you're given all the tools necessary to deal with, yet it comes down to your determination and mental fortitude to get the hunt done in a timely manner. Monster Hunter is the pinnacle of action games, plain and simple. This series has sucked up so many hours of my life, and I don't regret a single moment in any title I've played. Even on the 3DS, when I felt my hands cramping and feeling my eyes slowly losing their ability to see glaring at a small screen, I put over like 200 hours into 4 Ultimate and about 50 in Generations. It's a series that, no matter the barriers, I feel the need to keep playing, and that rings especially true for Monster Hunter World. Now, not only is World a fantastic game in its own right, but it also marks a huge transition for the series. It's been quite a while since we've seen such a huge console Monster Hunter game. Monster Hunter owes a lot of its growth and popularity to the added accessibility handheld gaming provided, the most important being the 3DS. While it was already a cultural phenomenon in Japan and the West, it really took a foothold with Nintendo's support and the fact that the 3DS had a fairly big market for such a franchise. With how much hype is around them, Capcom had a lot of pressure to perform well with a killer hit to innovate, provide an entry point for newcomers, and keep fans happy. Furthermore, World feels like an extension of the brand to the next level, so to speak. Capcom didn't play it safe either. They took a lot of time to ensure the best experience possible. With the added subtitle, World feels almost like a soft reboot of Monster Hunter. In a good way, though. I could gush about this game for hours and hours. I seriously don't know where to begin. I love it so much, I'm not even gonna try to hide it. I've been waiting for a Monster Hunter game to be on the quote-unquote next-gen hardware for ages, and after 4 years of development, it's here, and it's virtually perfect. I mean, there are some flaws here and there that I'll dissect later on, but for the most part, holy fuck. Oh, no. I mean, look at this game. It's utterly gorgeous, and the gameplay is just as fast-paced and fun as it has ever been. But this time you can play with a controller. Thank you, Mr. Capcom. Thank you so much. Here's your money. In all seriousness, everybody should buy this game, regardless of if this is your first rodeo or your 3,000th. I might say something a little controversial yet very brave, but I think that this is the best Monster Hunter game to date. All the other Monster Hunter games were Jesus tier, but World blows any other installment out of the water and ascends to Jesus New Game Plus tier. It takes the established gameplay formula and streamlines the process further thanks to the greater technical capabilities the developers were working with. Some might miss the zoned area structure and portability that the 3DS version brought. I know initially for me it took some getting used to when you couldn't just buy time from a pursuing enraged beast by zone hopping. When a Nergigante comes barreling at you continuously while you're on one little smidge of health, you can feel and hear your heart beating. It's the sort of intensity that I feel is welcome and makes the experience more challenging. For me, the appeal of Monster Hunter is this difficulty, where the action is always deliberate, fast-paced, and exhilarating. Now, for the unaware, Monster Hunter revolves around hunting monsters, but that's only scratching the stealing writing from Wikipedia surface. World takes it a step further and tasks you with trekking to the New World to observe the mysterious Elder Crossing, where these beasts known as the Elder Dragons migrate to every once in 10 years or so. This is a series that's never been known for its compelling, gut-wrenching narrative, which has always served to the benefit of the overall gameplay experience. It puts plot details on the back burner while it lets the gameplay do all the cooking. Sure, there's some added charm from voice acting and some dialogue with characters here and there can be entertaining, but I often found myself skipping through all that to get to the next monster on my agenda, the next quest, or whatever else I had to do. Games where they bog down everything with unnecessary, boring filler are the worst, especially when they force you to watch and listen to mundane back-and-forth conversations. Now, here, there are some cutscenes you can't skip. For those, it didn't bother me that much because they're short and they're kind of interesting to watch. I like, though, that there is a lot of dialogue you can just breeze past if you don't really care. Speaking of, I don't know, I'm really bad at transitions. The visuals, yes, as you can clearly see by Exhibit A through Z and then back to A, everything here looks clean as hell. I feel like saying graphics are good nowadays is like saying Nintendo will announce games at E3. It's obvious, and really not up for debate. However, I think the team deserves serious props for making such an aesthetically pleasing game regardless. How this game does texturing and shadows is really, really great, except when you see a monster from a distance and their animation is in a lower frame rate than the rest of the game. I played this on the PS4, not Definitive Edition, so maybe these pop-in rendering issues and a frame rate drop here or there are just evidence of the console not being able to hold up in... Still, these issues exist, but they don't detract from my enjoyment of the presentation at all. Why? Well, I think it comes down to the environments. They're all varied and unique, filled to the brim with interesting ecosystems and landmarks to make them all feel and play distinctly from one another. The Coral Highlands is by far my favorite because I've never seen a game go for a coral vibe, and they knocked it out of the park so amazingly. You're in a water level that doesn't have the negative undercurrent that comes with water levels. The grasslands of the ancient forest are also really well textured and designed, and the Rotten Vale is such a creepy concept that I haven't seen explored in other contemporary titles. It's a locale filled with corpses of dead monsters. The Vale just excretes the emotion of ominousness and eeriness. What's great about these locations, along with the assortment of others world boasts, is that this environmental variety keeps the gameplay consistently fresh. You're always moving forward to the next big thing to explore and fight monsters in. For the first time in the series, I found myself actually compelled to do those gather quests, not only for the materials, but just to take in the new world and let myself be captivated by its vast scale. What drives this sense of wonder in the gigantic open-ended world is the music. I feel like the soundtracks of every Monster Hunter installment are severely underrated. 4 Ultimate had an exciting OST filled with soaring melodies and chill grooves, especially with the song that played in the guild hall. The same rings true for Monster Hunter World. There's a lot of tracks in this game. I mean, the musical collection is split on 3 discs in Japan, but the composers smartly tried to make them all sound different and applicable to whatever situation you'll hear them in during gameplay. Monsters have their individual themes, all of which intensify combat, especially the Kolaku track. While most songs have the classic orchestra instruments playing these grandiose melodies, saying the score is basic or just lame is something I wouldn't agree with. While I might say that few tracks can be forgettable in terms of the melodies they provide, there isn't a single track that I hated. I can also appreciate when the music is used sparingly, like in the more atmospheric tracks that don't intrude on the sounds of the worlds you're romping in. They're more minimalistic to contrast the moments of solidarity to the moments of actually engaging in a life or death fight with a monster. Still, the music really fits whatever place you're at. The instruments and melodies play as if the song already knows the chords and sound you associate with that locale, whether that be the general jovial tunes of the canteen or the ferocity of the battle with the Nergigante. The OST is among one of the strongest aspects of this title, but it's not the strongest. That would have to go to the gameplay, which takes the series to newfound heights of being the same as you've done before in HD. Though, this is exactly what I wanted out of a Monster Hunter continuation. I didn't want any big changes. I wanted the gameplay to be made even more streamlined and fun, which it is. As I've mentioned before, as opposed to other titles, the map is entirely open. There are no zones that take time out of hunting monsters to load. Transitions to different areas on the map are seamless. There are clearly different areas which are marked on your map as always, but the levels have been made to be more or less non-linear in terms of finding and hunting monsters. However, to mitigate the potential confusion that might come from not sectioning off areas and leaving the whole map to be as one map, the developers smartly added scout flies, which guide you to your next objective. These are sort of hit or miss for me because I do like how they keep you on track and gives you hints to find traces of the monster to hunt them down. It cuts down the exploration and ushers you straight into action, but this quiet time of me finding where the monster is, what it's doing, and then the stress of paintballing him or her was part of the fun of hunting. They exist for newer players to help ease them into the series, and I respect that decision. Despite my complaints, I do like that the tracking exists to reduce the tedium that might come from wandering through areas just to get to the more interesting and engaging parts. I don't even know how I feel about them. Hunting monsters functions like it did before. You equip a weapon from 14 options and go out to slay a beast for its resources and to progress the story. Choosing your style of combat, whether that be up close and personal with the longsword or farther away with the heavy bow gun, allows the experience to be more personal and fun. There are a bunch of different ways you can go about beating a monster. Player choice, like this and what you do in every situation, persists the feeling of carving your own path throughout the game. You're plopped into a map and told to kill a monster. It's so simple that you can create your own complexities for it. When you slay a monster, that was your accomplishment. You chose to kill that enemy with your methods, not the tools the game has given you or the tutorials it has forced upon you. Player freedom accentuates the high-octane enemy encounters you'll have during your trip to the new world. Monsters will seldom put no effort in killing you. Every monster goes all out fighting for their life and murdering you. It's awesome, terrifying, and mainly demanding, but this difficulty is never detrimental. This is because when you finally overcome the monster-sized obstacle, the feeling of satisfaction is emotional and physical. You feel relieved because you no longer have to concentrate so hard with every bit of your caffeine-ridden, tired brain, and you can sit back and reap your rewards. The bits you gather from the corpse of your enemy are essential to the Monster Hunter feedback loop.
TM.
From your gathered items, you can forge new weapons and armor that have some sort of new characteristic to them, both visually and in terms of the gameplay. So the gameplay transitions to killing things and then gathering the thing's body parts for the fun of it and because the game told you to doing that for your own personal gain of increasing your strength and fashion of your character. The great joy of this series is the personalization. It's being your own best hunter, and World captures this innate desire and has a fucking field day with it. Indeed, there's so much in Monster Hunter World that reflects this sentiment of going all out on a project, adding every possible thing they could add without it being too much. There's a slingshot that every character is equipped with that can be used to stun or damage enemies. There's a day and night cycle that can affect monsters mid-quest in some cases. There's some special equipment like suits that can provide more armor or stealth for your character. There's a glider that makes you feel like you're in Breath of the Monster Hunter, an emotion I happily welcome. There's just so much new shit, and I love it. I love the gameplay and all the effort Capcom put into thoroughly developing it. It's complete. There's no huge DLC that you need. It's a fully priced, fully full game. World offers a tremendous quantity of single-player content that anyone anywhere would find entertaining, regardless of if you're a seasoned player or like I was in 2013. A regular person. But with all of the Monster Hunter games, the real joy comes from the multiplayer. The online is built almost flawlessly with little lag or any visual hiccups. Technically speaking, it just works. As with its predecessors, World heavily incentivizes cooperative play and player interactions. If you get stuck or just don't want to be alone, you can pop online and start questing with other players to grind out some better gear and give that monster another shot. Playing with other people is always a blast. Since a monster will scale its health depending on how many players are hunting, you will need to all work together to bring it down. This usually can't be done by just one overpowered fellow, so participation from every player is almost mandatory. Everybody has to be focused on the goal of communal murder. It's not always about the reward. The fun experience hunting with buddies is sometimes rewarding in and of itself. Having somebody there to meet the same challenge and put in the same amount of energy you are amps up the fight by a significant margin. margin. Sometimes I hate playing alone because I know having a pal or two with me on my journey is so much more important and interesting. With college starting again and my jobs picking up steam, going into World and jumping into multiplayer with other people with the same purpose, to kill a cool looking monster, is my favorite thing. You seriously lose track of time. It's a problem, but a good problem to have. If you take anything away from this review, buy Monster Hunter World or plan to buy it on the PC. This is easily the best game of the year. Today, when I'm writing this, so you know it's good. I know Dragon Ball FighterZ has the same release date, but ideally, World should be on your list if you like action games. If you're a series veteran, I mean, come on, we both know you're picking this up day one. Additionally, if you're new to the series, it's the best place to start. It's not too complicated to get into when you read all the tutorials and take the time to learn the ins and outs of its mechanics. This is the best Capcom game in a while, and also the best Monster Hunter game to date, if I'm honest. I know I might be riding the hype wave just a tad bit, but it's so exciting and enjoyable. Alright, I'm done. Enough positivity. Don't wait for a price drop or sale, by the way. World is worth the full price. Anyways, if you disagree or agree with me, let me know in the comment section below. I'm always willing to have a chat if you're willing to give me the time and not the anger. Thank you so much for watching and take care. Have a wonderful day.
Bye.